So when people are in a situation where they don't have an effective program in place to manage services procurement, um, which is most organizations in my experience, um, there are clearly painful questions to be asked. Um, they need to be asked of the people who lead procurement, the people who lead finance, the people who lead operational functions. Um, those are the sort of questions that people like you and I might pose or float in this type of conversation. But if you were to go into an organization, what are the questions you would get people would ask people or get people to start asking themselves or each other, when it comes to like, where are we now and are we happy with that?
Yeah, I mean the general questions, what are the pain points? What are the problems you're trying to solve? But tying it back to what we were talking about, how painful are these problems in these situations that you're going through? Because I think depending on the maturity of your organization and the things you're trying to change, perhaps there isn't, a an absolute must change. Maybe there are more dire things going on in the organization that they need to get things right. But I also ask, like, how serious are they in terms of improving their workforce management and the way that they engage non-employee talent? Because if they're not prioritizing that, I can't force them to do that. And I can show them all the value of what I do. You could show them all the value of Zivio all day, but if they aren't committed to this and seeing it as a priority, even though it's 30 to 50% of their workforce, man, there's not a whole lot we can do. And I hate to be just like, well, you just give up, but there has to be a certain mentality and commitment to being able to make this change. So on top of, what are the problems, the pains, how important is this to you right now? And how willing are you to make a change? And what does it mean for your organization? If you don't know that, I'm willing to help you and help you figure out how big of a priority this is, because from an outside looking in, it's an absolute must have and thing you should be focusing on. But you have to be able to make that decision, and I'll give you all the education and knowledge you need. But where are you guys at in terms of your commitment, and what can you stand by in terms of your beliefs and values of being able to make, transformative change within your organization? Because that's what it's going to come back to, is that commitment. You could have the best solution, best ROI, but if we're not committed, client's not committed, what can you really do? So I think being able to gauge that is really a valuable thing for them before they even start making an effort. Is this something you're going to take on and really want to transform? And then I think that helps everybody as well to go in with a clear plan of what to expect and what we can possibly accomplish depending on where you are right now.
Yeah, really interesting. I like it. I sometimes feel like, realistically, I'm talking to like the 10% of people in the room that are sick of it, that want to make a change, and they're not willing to just settle. They're like, no, I've had enough. We can do this better. This is not where it should be. I'm kind of, the people that are fed up with it, angry with it, really recognize it, say, why the hell aren't we doing something about it? Those are the people that
Yes.
sometimes I'm speaking to in the room, because, and those are the people that are ready to just take radical action and actually push things forward and make a change. And they're the people who get the benefit of that as well. They're the people who come away from it having achieved great things and have really moved the needle. With something like this that can be seen as quite difficult to tackle, certainly at this point in its evolution within the market, if you're the person who can go in there and make a change, that's going to do wondrous things for your career, and it's going to have
Right.
a impact on your organization, and hopefully you're going to get a big pat on the back for it.
They say squeaky wheel gets the grease. So, I mean, somebody has to speak up and be willing to make that change and get others committed to it, right? Because I know the C-suite isn't always committed to the actions of improving contingent workforce program. They probably may not even know that it exists, right? And so we always have to be advocates for that and arm our partners and help them progress this forward to be that squeaky wheel to help the company get commitment, right? Because I think that's what it's going to come down to if you want to make substantial and meaningful change.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you know, again, the C-suite can't afford to be complacent when it comes down to what's your organizational capacity? How do you get things done? How much stuff can you do? What can you do? Because you're making promises to your customers, you're delivering your products and services to the world. Are you? Can you? Are you going to be able to when this changes and that changes? So yeah, I think it comes right down to those two things of business value and ultimately empowering the end user.